All right, good morning. We're back talking about life beyond bars, what it looks like to be out of prison, how to cope with and deal with everyday life again. I didn't do a lot of time. I did just about 2 years, 21, 22 months. As a lot of people do, I ended up in a camp. Camp life is kind of easy. None of it's easy, first of all. You're away from your family and your friends and your loved ones, and your freedom's taken, and you're living in an area that you probably would have a happier time, digging ditches out in the middle of winter than being in a facility, even at a camp level. So I don't want to dress it up as a nice place to be. None of it's nice, but it's easy time if you're doing time for a period of a year or two or more. I would much rather be at a camp. The experience I had, though, I embrace it. Quite frankly, if I didn't miss my loved ones, or I had nobody that really cared about me out in the street to come out to, prison wasn't a bad place to be. It was a very good learning experience for me. I went in at 48 years old, middle-aged white guy from the DC metro area, so kind of a tough transition. And going into prison for the first time ever, it was an eye-opening experience, especially for a guy that's not a street guy. Although my crime was a drug crime, I wasn't a street vendor, if you will. I've always been a businessman for the past 3 decades, and forfeiting that control is just tough for me. So being incarcerated has a lot of opportunities to check life out. Who you are before you go in, you take stock in that, you analyze your mistakes, you go through a long list of regrets, I'm here to tell you. Being put into a very vulnerable situation where you no longer have any say-so in the matter of what your day-to-day looks like, until you adapt at least. I used to run, like I said, a car dealership prior to going in. I was being partnered up in a car dealership itself as an owner, and I had pretty much full say-so over what was happening in my day from any moment to the next. I had it immediately stripped away from me. And then I'm put in there with guys, and again, I guess I'm looking down my nose a little bit, guys that weren't close to what my capabilities were, or what my street cred is based on a professional level. I had, huge opportunities, as we all do. It's just a measurement of who thinks what's huge. And I kind of had a little bit of a down-the-nose look at certain people. But I learned real quick to shut my mouth and fall in line until at least I understood the ways of the world inside. I'm smart enough to get that part. But the environment I adapted to quickly, probably too easily. I had a good thing, didn't know how much of a good thing I had. I was working out a lot, hung out with some good guys, doing some time. Took advantage of some situations and it escalated. I was hustling inside, I got popped with a cell phone, lost my good time, got sent to the hole for 6 months. First and foremost, I want to say time in the hole is horrible. Again, it's amplified my time. It's as if I've done an additional 4 or 5 years. That incarceration, inside incarceration, is just really detrimental to your mindset. I had that taste of what isolation 23 hours a day looked like, in a small 40 square foot space, where all you have is a sliver of a window and a crack under a door to utilize for passing, whatever, magazines or food or coffee bags, whatever, up and down the range, and or yelling through the doors to communicate with your cellie next door to you, as we called it, Embassy Row, because there were so many people from so many countries there. We're doing 300 plus years, 3 life sentences plus 99 years, so better, that was 400 years. So I got to know people on a different level. Reading books, you only get a couple of books a week, and that kind of gets old real quick, and a lot of that stuff's hood novel stuff, which, okay, some are okay, but, I'm not that street kind of guy. I'd like a little bit more of an intellectual content. So it's a big struggle when you're sitting in that kind of confinement for a long period of time. And then I was shipped via Con Air all over the great United States of America, from Oklahoma to USB Atlanta, stopped in Tampa, and finally got a long bus ride, black boxed, up the whole way through several states to Ashland, Kentucky. So that's a collage of my time in prison. As I said before, it's story time every day in the car. Tomorrow we're going to talk more about the whole, a little bit more of a deep dive into what that looks like, time served, and how do you adjust mentally. So stay tuned, have fun, listen, hopefully you learn something, hopefully you don't go to prison, but if you do, be prepared.